The 33rd degree knowledge unveils timeless truths once veiled in secrecy, passed down only to those prepared to awaken. These teachings, long hidden in ancient sanctuaries and whispered through sacred lineages, now rise to meet you. As you open your heart to receive, you will begin to remember what your soul has always known, that you are not a mere observer of reality, but a co-creator of it. This book is not just information, it is an activation, a divine mirror reflecting the infinite power already within you. Introduction: The Threshold of Transformation. Across countless generations, echoes of sacred wisdom have reverberated through the ages, knowledge held close by mystics, sages, and awakened souls who understood the invisible architecture of existence. What you are about to receive is not a collection of philosophies or ancient theories, but a living body of truth designed to ignite your deepest remembrance. This is the 33rd degree knowledge, ancient current of divine intelligence flowing through the hidden corridors of your consciousness. These teachings go beyond mental understanding. They are sacred frequencies encoded in every story, every lesson, every reflection you will hear. They invite you to cross a threshold of space between the seen and the unseen, between who you were and who you truly are. This wisdom has been preserved by those who knew its transformative power. And now, it arrives in your hands not by coincidence, but by divine appointment. You are standing at the edge of something extraordinary. The universe has guided you to this moment not to merely learn, but to awaken. The 33rd degree knowledge reveals not only how the cosmos functions, but how to become the master of your life within it. It reminds you that you are not separate from the divine energy that animates all things. You are one with it. And through this understanding, you reclaim your ability to manifest, transform, and shape reality itself. Chapter 1: The First Glimpse. In the ancient city of Kashar, nestled between forgotten hills and veiled by the sands of time, a young apprentice named Thomas discovered an entrance hidden behind a weathered tapestry deep within the archives of the Grand Library. Though warned to stay away from what elders called the Forbidden Wing, something within him stirred an invisible thread pulling him forward. Descending the worn stone steps with only the flicker of a lamp to light the way, he entered a vast chamber unlike any he had ever seen. Scrolls rested quietly in sacred piles, manuscripts written in languages long forgotten, glowing faintly as though still alive. Drawn by an unseen force, Thomas unrolled the first scroll. Golden glyphs rose from the parchment, shimmering before his eyes, rearranging his very perception. Night after night, he returned, devouring truths that unraveled everything he thought he knew. These texts did not contain complex spells or grand rituals. Instead, they revealed the divine in the ordinary, the miracle of a breath, the sacred silence between thoughts, the power of presence in a simple smile. Thomas began to see differently. He noticed the way the breeze danced through the trees, the subtle rhythm of footsteps on cobblestones, the stillness that lingered after laughter. The universe, it seemed, was always speaking, never through noise, but through whispers. Sacred knowledge wasn't hidden in mountaintop temples or locked behind golden doors. It was interwoven into the fabric of daily life, waiting for eyes that had been taught to see. Far from Kashar, in the ancient kingdom of Meridia, lived a wise woman named Amara. Known for her strange riddles and silent wandering from village to village, she was eventually summoned by a troubled emperor. His kingdom was in turmoil, his crops failed, his people suffered, and no decree brought peace. When asked for her wisdom, she simply said, "Observe the morning dew." Perplexed, yet intrigued, the emperor obeyed. Each dawn, he watched the dew form on leaves, sparkle in the rising sun, and vanish with warmth. Over time, he noticed a pattern: the gathering, the pause, the release. The same rhythm echoed in his kingdom: growth, abundance, and letting go. Understanding dawned. He began to govern not through control, but through alignment with seasons, cycles, and the natural laws that held all in balance. Peace returned, not because he imposed order, but because he flowed with what already was. Like Thomas and the Emperor, you too are surrounded by divine patterns. The world is alive with meaning, encoded in every gesture, every shadow, every breeze. The way water bends around stone teaches you softness. The rise and fall of breath reveals balance. Even the seasons sing of birth, transformation, and surrender. These are not abstract ideas, but living teachings. You need not travel far to find them. You only need to pause, listen, and begin to see. Begin now a sacred practice of reflection. Each evening, find a quiet place to sit. Let the day play back in your mind. Recall the subtle moments that stirred something within you, the kindness of a stranger, the way sunlight moved through the leaves, a feeling you couldn't quite explain. Don't analyze, just notice. Write them down as they are. These are the sacred signs, the universe whispering truths uniquely meant for you. As you continue, patterns will emerge. Like constellations drawn across the night sky, the seemingly random will reveal deeper meaning. A delayed train becomes a divine detour. A moment of irritation becomes a lesson in surrender. These aren't accidents, they are doorways. Each journal entry becomes a thread in the tapestry of your awakening. Over time, this practice will open your inner eyes. What once seemed mundane will bloom into the miraculous. And you'll realize that the greatest secrets of the universe were never hidden from you. They were simply waiting to be noticed. You have taken the first step into the ancient stream of awakening. The universe, once silent, will now begin to sing, and you will remember you have always been part of the song. Chapter 2: The Universal Architecture of Creation. In a quiet village cradled by the embrace of ancient mountains, there lived a master craftsman named Ravi. His hands, aged and firm, shaped metal with an elegance that drew pilgrims from far and wide. But it wasn't merely the form of his creations that captivated the eye. It was something deeper, something sacred. His sculptures whispered, resonated, pulsed. Spirals mirrored galaxies. Geometric lines echoed the crystalline structure of minerals. Flowing curves seemed to trace the courses of ancient rivers as seen from the sky. Yet few understood the true meaning behind his work. One day, a traveler paused before a particularly elaborate piece, a sphere of copper etched with delicate spirals. She gazed in reverent silence before turning to Ravi. "You've captured something beyond metal," she said. He nodded with a soft smile. "What you see is the language of creation itself." And indeed, it was. Ravi explained that every angle, every curve, every symmetry was not random, but a reflection of the sacred principles that govern the universe. Just as rivers wind their way to the sea, and stars move in precise orbits, so too does creation follow divine order. These laws are not imposed upon reality, they are reality. And to align with them is to become a conscious participant in the unfolding of existence. These universal laws are not abstract theories. They are alive, ever-present, interwoven into every fiber of being. The law of cause and effect, for instance, ensures that every action sends ripples outward, echoing through time and space. The law of correspondence reveals that what exists on one level mirrors another, the microcosm reflecting the macrocosm. And the law of vibration teaches that everything is energy in motion, resonating at unique frequencies, attracting their vibrational equals. To understand these laws is to gain sight beyond appearances. In the desert far to the south, a nomad named Karim learned this in a different way. Night after night, beneath the canopy of stars, he observed their dance. Over time, patterns emerged, cycles so precise they foretold the blooming of rare desert flowers, the return of migrating birds, even the shifting dunes. The heavens weren't distant, they were instructional. And one fateful night, caught in a vicious sandstorm, Kareem remembered what the stars had taught him. Everything follows a path. The chaos had order. The storm, a rhythm. Trusting the unseen logic, he navigated his way to safety, guided not by his eyes, but by cosmic law. Kareem's journey reflects your own. Every moment, whether smooth or turbulent, is influenced by the same eternal principles. When you move in harmony with these forces, your manifestations unfold with grace. When you resist or ignore them, life feels like a storm without direction. You too are guided by these laws, even when unaware of them. Your thoughts vibrate with frequency. Your emotions ripple through reality. Every word you speak becomes a seed sown into the infinite field of creation. The universe does not judge, it simply reflects. To begin your initiation into this divine order, choose one universal law to observe for the next 7 days. It may be the law of cause and effect. Watch how every action you take, every word spoken, yields a response. Perhaps it's the law of reciprocity. Notice how acts of kindness generate waves that return unexpectedly. Or maybe it's the law of vibration. Pay attention to how your emotional state magnetizes experiences that match its frequency. You might witness how a moment of gratitude attracts more to be thankful for, or how a smile shared with a stranger returns threefold through unexpected joy. You may see how your patience in a stressful moment reshapes what could have escalated into conflict. Each observation becomes a window into the divine machinery at work. Keep a sacred journal of these insights, not for analysis, but for illumination. As you record, you'll begin to see what was once hidden, the invisible architecture behind every interaction, every opportunity, every challenge. You'll realize that you are not merely reacting to life. You are co-authoring it. In this practice, you become more than a student of truth. You become a conscious artist working with the infinite. The laws are your tools, the universe, your canvas. Over time, this awareness rewires your perception. The world becomes less random and more responsive, less chaotic, more ordered. You'll see that setbacks aren't punishments, but recalibrations. Delays are not denials, but divine timing. Relationships that challenge you are teachers in disguise, showing you how your vibration meets theirs in harmonic or disharmonic dance. You are not a passive observer in this life. You are a force within it. To deepen this understanding, begin a daily meditation. Sit in stillness and choose a universal law to contemplate. Reflect on how it appears in your life. Ask yourself, what is life trying to teach me through this principle? Allow images, memories, sensations to arise. The answers won't always be loud. They might come as a knowing, a gentle shift in perspective, a sense of connection to something much greater. As this awareness grows, you will begin to sense the sacred geometry in all things, the pattern of the spiral in your personal growth, the circle in the cycles you repeat, the symmetry in the relationships you attract. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of the same divine code that weaves stars into galaxies and cells into bodies. You are made of this code. The laws are not outside of you. They are within you, written into your very being. And now, with awakened eyes and open heart, you are invited to remember. Let this remembering be your guiding light. Let this knowledge be your foundation. For when you walk in alignment with the laws of creation, the world begins to move with you. The impossible dissolves. The miraculous becomes natural, and you begin to step into the reality of your birthright, the reality of the conscious creator. Chapter 3. The Mind That Shapes Reality. High in the mountains, where clouds kiss ancient stone and silence stretches deeper than words, there stood a quiet monastery hidden from the world. Among its inhabitants was a monk named Chen, whose days were filled not with chanting or debate, but with stillness. Each morning, he would sit before a massive boulder that blocked the only path leading from the monastery to the fertile valley below. The other monks had long resigned themselves to the inconvenience, choosing instead the longer trail that circled the ridge. But not Chen. To him, the boulder was not just stone, it was a riddle, a symbol, a mirror. Each day he returned to it, not to push or chisel, but to understand. Through deep meditation, he began to see the boulder not as a physical obstruction, but as a projection, a thought solidified into form. He realized that all things, including obstacles, began as thought, and what was created by the mind could also be moved by the mind. As the seasons turned and his contemplation deepened, a transformation occurred, not to the boulder at first, but within Chen himself. His belief in limitation dissolved. His certainty in the invisible became absolute, and one morning, with no fanfare and no force, the boulder shifted. As naturally as a river flowing downhill, it moved, revealing the path beneath. What seemed immovable had obeyed the quiet force of a still and focused mind. Chen's revelation is not a legend, it is a principle, one that applies to your life with as much precision as it did to his. The mind you carry within you is not a passive witness to your world, it is the generator of it. Your thoughts are not fleeting clouds, they are architects, builders of the unseen scaffolding behind your every circumstance. Just as a potter molds clay, your mind molds reality. Each belief is a blueprint, each mental image, a command. When you think consistently, with emotion and certainty, the world around you begins to shape itself in your image. In a distant village lived a farmer named Shen, whose fields yielded little despite endless toil. From sunrise to sunset, he worked with calloused hands and aching back, yet his harvest remained sparse, while others flourished. Frustrated and disheartened, he began to doubt himself, whispering thoughts of failure into the soil with every seed he planted. One night, a dream came to him, a wise elder standing in the middle of his barren land. "Your crops grow first in the soil of your mind," the elder said. "Change what you plant there, and the earth will follow." Shen woke with new eyes. He began his days not with frustration, but with visualization. He saw his fields abundant, his granaries full, his heart grateful. And as these images became familiar, something miraculous unfolded. His crops thrived. The land responded, but it was not the soil that had changed. It was the sower. Like Shen, you hold the power to shift your reality by shifting your mind. It is not mere motivation, it is sacred science. Your external world is the echo of your internal state. If your thoughts are laced with fear, you will see reasons to be afraid. If your beliefs are drenched in lack, you will find yourself grasping for more. But when you rewire the narrative, when you begin to think as the creator, not the victim, life begins to mirror that empowerment back to you. To awaken this inner mastery, begin each day with a 5-minute practice of inner stillness. Sit quietly, let the world fall away. Then, choose a single desire, not as a wish or distant hope, but as if it is already done. See it clearly. Feel it in your body. Let it rise from your skin like warmth on a sunlit day. Smell the air around it. Hear the sounds of its presence. Let it become real, not in some vague tomorrow, but in this very breath. When your mind holds a vision with emotional certainty, it becomes magnetic. You begin to act, speak, and move as one aligned with that outcome. Doubt dissolves, resistance weakens. And your external world must shift to accommodate the new blueprint. Do not worry if you do not yet believe. Belief is not always required at first. Repetition is. Just as a river carves stone with patient flow, your consistent mental focus carves new paths in the mind. These paths become highways, and soon, the mind flows effortlessly toward truth rather than fear. You must also be mindful of the subtle thoughts you carry, the quiet ones that whisper when you are not listening. They shape you more than you know. Begin to observe them, catch them in the act. When you notice a thought that shrinks your spirit, pause, question it, ask, is this building the life I desire? If not, replace it. Speak a new sentence into your inner space, one rooted in expansion, not contraction. A woman once asked, if thoughts create reality, why do I still struggle? The answer lies in consistency. A single positive thought will not overcome decades of silent self-doubt, but it is a seed. And if nurtured, it becomes a forest. The work is not to believe once. It is to believe again and again until belief becomes knowing. You are not the prisoner of your past thoughts. You are their sculptor, and you can choose again at any moment, right now. To help anchor this shift, write down 3 limiting thoughts you have caught yourself thinking recently. Then beside each one, write its empowered counterpart. I am not good enough becomes I am more than enough for every path I choose. This is too hard becomes I am capable of mastering anything I focus on. Nothing ever works out for me becomes everything is working out for me in divine order. Speak these aloud. Feel their frequency in your chest. Make them your daily declarations, not just to the universe, but to yourself. In time, the mind aligns. The boulders in your path begin to move. And like Chen, you will find that the obstacles you once feared were never solid at all. They were made of thought. And thought, when seen clearly, dissolves. You are the architect of your world, the writer of your script, the mind that bends time, space, and possibility into form. Remember this each time you feel powerless. Your power is never gone. It is simply waiting for you to reclaim the pen. Chapter 4. The Symphony of Vibration. In a quiet valley nestled between ancient hills, where the winds hummed secrets and the trees whispered forgotten songs, lived a musician named Ravi. But Ravi was no ordinary player of strings. His instrument, carved from sacred wood passed down through generations, responded not just to his hands, but to his spirit. When he played, flowers turned toward the sound. Birds sang in harmony. Even the breeze paused, as if to listen. People came from distant lands to hear him, believing it was his talent that enchanted the world. But they were only half right. What made Ravi's music transcend melody was his understanding of something far greater, the unseen force that moves through all things. He knew that everything in existence vibrates. Every thought, every emotion, every breath. He believed that we are not just living in a world of matter, we are living in a universe of frequencies. And when we understand this, we begin to see that life is not something that happens to us. It is something we broadcast, and it answers in kind. You, too, are a living instrument. Your emotions are the strings, your thoughts, the rhythm. Every moment, you are sending out signals, frequencies that ripple outward, attracting experiences that resonate with them. Joy sings a bright and open tone. Gratitude hums in gold. Love pulses like a soft flame. And fear distorts, doubt detunes. Anger shatters harmony like a broken note in a sacred hymn. You cannot fool the frequency. The universe responds not to your words, but to your energy. There once stood a lighthouse on a jagged coast where tempests roared and ships were lost to the night. An old keeper named Thomas tended it faithfully, night after night, through rain and gale. He never wavered. The beam of the light remained constant, cutting through the chaos. When asked how he kept the flame so steady, he replied, "Because I don't match the storm, I hold the signal." And so it is with you. Life may rage around you. Challenges may rise like waves. But your frequency, your internal state, is the beam. It is the light that either draws your miracles to you or loses them in the fog. You cannot control the storm, but you can choose the song you play within it. When you hold the frequency of joy, abundance flows to meet it. When you carry the resonance of peace, clarity comes. When you sing the song of gratitude, the universe multiplies your blessings. Not because you earned them, but because you aligned with them. The law is simple. Like attracts like. It is not about pretending. It is not about masking pain with hollow affirmations. True alignment begins with honesty, with awareness. If fear arises, do not fight it. Feel it, name it, and gently lift yourself into a higher note. If sadness comes, do not deny it. Meet it with love, then choose again. Each emotion is a tone, and you are the composer. The choice is always yours. Begin now a sacred practice of vibration tracking. Each evening, sit with yourself and reflect. What did I feel most today? What tone did I carry into the world? Was I tuned to love or worry, to openness or resistance? Write down the emotions you experienced most often and the events that seemed to follow. This simple ritual will reveal the map of your frequency, what you're broadcasting, and how life is echoing it back. In time, patterns will emerge. You'll see how days of joy bring unexpected gifts, how moments of trust open doors, how holding space for peace transforms conflict. And you'll begin to understand, the universe is not responding to your circumstances, it's responding to your state. You are not waiting for life to change before you feel better. You are changing how you feel, and life is responding in kind. To go deeper, choose a feeling you wish to live in, perhaps joy, love, or serenity. Spend 5 minutes each morning immersing yourself in this frequency. Recall memories that evoke it. Envision moments where it flows through you. Let it rise until your body hums with it. Then carry that tone into your day, not as a shield, but as a beacon, like the lighthouse. Let your energy speak louder than your words. Let your vibration guide your path. People will feel it in your presence. Doors will open without knocking. Situations will bend toward you, not because you forced them, but because you magnetized them. This is not mysticism, it is resonance. Think of a tuning fork. When one fork is struck, another of the same frequency begins to vibrate in response. Your life works the same way. When you radiate confidence, opportunity meets you there. When you embody self-worth, the world reflects it. When you sing the song of abundance, the echoes return with arms full. You are not here to chase reality. You are here to tune to the version of reality that already exists on your desired frequency, and it is closer than you think. Remember the musician Ravi? His greatest secret was not the notes he played, but the state he entered before playing. He attuned himself to the frequency of the earth, of harmony, of love. He did not control the music, he became one with it. This is the invitation now placed before you. To tune yourself to the life you wish to live, to become the vibration of the world you desire to experience, to hold steady like the lighthouse, to resonate like the instrument, to choose your frequency with care again and again until the song of your soul aligns with the song of the universe. And when that happens, when your inner note harmonizes with the great cosmic symphony, miracles no longer seem like miracles. They feel natural. They feel inevitable, because they are. Chapter 5. The Compass of the Heart. Deep within a forest untouched by time, where ancient trees towered like guardians of forgotten wisdom, a traveler named Maya wandered, lost among shadows and mist. She had a map, she had tools. But no matter how carefully she calculated her path, she found herself circling the same terrain, confused, uncertain, weary. Then something strange happened. Whenever she turned in one particular direction, she felt warmth arise in her chest, a subtle magnetic pull. No voice, no sign, just a feeling. Intrigued, she followed it. Step by step, she let her heart, not her mind, lead. Through thorn-covered paths and silent ravines, across trickling creeks and fallen trees, the warmth never left her. And finally, she emerged into a clearing, bathed in golden light. At the center stood an ancient oak tree. Beneath it, nestled in moss, was a crystal that pulsed with the same rhythm she had felt within. Maya knelt before it, not because she was told to, but because she knew. The forest had not led her. Her heart had. You have a compass just like hers. It doesn't speak in words. It speaks in feeling. The universe communicates through emotion. Not random, fleeting moods, but deeply resonant states that arise when your soul aligns with truth. Joy, love, peace, awe. These are not merely pleasant experiences. They are signatures, coordinates, divine guidance systems encoded into your being. When followed, they lead you straight to the life you were born to live. But in a world that worships the intellect, the heart is often ignored, silenced, overridden. We learn to trust logic over feeling, reason over resonance. And in doing so, we stray from the most powerful guidance we possess. Yet the heart never stops guiding. It calls through subtle longings, through dreams that refuse to die, through discomfort in misaligned places, through sudden sparks of inspiration that light up your chest like a fire. It nudges, aches, and expands, not to confuse you, but to show you the way back to your path. In a village far across the seas lived a healer named Sophia. She had studied herbs, treatments, techniques, but despite her knowledge, her remedies rarely worked. People came to her desperate for healing, but left unchanged. One evening, disheartened, she sat in silence. And in that quiet, a realization arose. She had been treating symptoms with her mind, but never connecting with her heart. From that day forward, Sophia changed. Before tending to her patients, she placed a hand over her own heart, breathing deeply until she felt compassion stir. She began to feel her way into their pain, not just diagnose it. She wept with them. She listened. She touched with love, and soon, miracles unfolded, wounds closed, spirits lifted. Her name became known, not for her methods, but for her presence. Your heart holds that same healing frequency, not just for others, but for yourself. It is your truest compass, your sacred GPS, your direct connection to Source. When you align your desires with the feelings they evoke, you summon life to match you. But when you want something and feel the opposite, you repel it. This is why mere affirmations often fall short. Saying, "I am abundant," while feeling scarcity sends a mixed signal. The universe doesn't respond to the words. It responds to the emotion behind them. To manifest with power, you must feel it first. Think of a magnet. It draws not because it tries, but because it simply is. The stronger its field, the more it attracts. Your emotions are that magnetic field. When you feel love, not just think about it, you become a magnet for loving experiences. When you feel gratitude, not as a performance, but as a vibration, you call in more reasons to be grateful. So how do you begin? Start with your own compass. Sit quietly each morning. Place your hand over your heart. Ask yourself, what do I truly desire today? Not just in outcome, but in feeling. Peace? Joy? Fulfillment? Then ask, what can I do to feel that now? Maybe it's a walk in the sun, a few minutes of silence, a message of love sent to someone who needs it. The smallest acts can ignite the frequency you seek. And once that frequency is alive in you, your reality will begin to respond. Create an affirmation that speaks to your deepest aspiration, not just as a sentence, but as a key that unlocks emotion. Choose words that stir your soul. Repeat them not as ritual, but as invocation. And as you speak them, feel them. Let them echo in your body. Let them rise like a wave. Let them fill you until there is no room for doubt. Here is an example. I am deeply loved, fully supported, and divinely guided in all I do. Say it until your breath carries it. Say it until your chest warms. Say it until your eyes mist and your smile returns. That's when you know you've aligned. Because when you feel it, you become it. And when you become it, the universe reflects it. Remember, your feelings are not just reactions. They are forces, creative agents, energy transmitters. The world is constantly responding to the frequency you emit, and your heart is the dial. Like Maya in the forest, you may not always have a map, but you have something far greater, an inner compass that never lies. It will not always guide you to the easiest path, but it will lead you to the truest one. It'll take you through the fog, through the thickets, through the moments that make no sense to the mind, but perfect sense to the soul. Follow it, for the heart knows what the mind cannot see. And every time you trust its whisper, every time you act on its pull, you come closer to the life that has been calling you all along. Chapter 6. Reflections of Reality. In the inner sanctum of an ancient temple, hidden beyond a maze of marble corridors, there stood a mirror unlike any other. It was not framed in gold, nor adorned with jewels. It was plain, yet powerful. Those who gazed into it did not see their physical form, but something far more revealing, the landscape of their mind. Thoughts unspoken, emotions long buried, beliefs that whispered behind the veil of action. In its polished surface, the soul was laid bare. A merchant named Raza once stood before it, dressed in fine robes and adorned with wealth. He expected to see the image he had carefully crafted for the world, but what met his eyes was different. Storms of anxiety swirled across his reflection. Chains of fear bound his limbs. Shadows of doubt loomed large behind him. He stumbled backward, shaken. The mirror had shown him not who he pretended to be, but who he truly was inside. Raza returned to the temple every day, not to worship, but to face himself. He began to clear the storm within, replacing anxious thoughts with calm, replacing fear with faith. Slowly, the reflection changed. The shadows lifted. Where once there had been turmoil, now bloomed a garden of light, serenity, and purpose. The mirror had not changed. He had. So too is your outer world a mirror. It reflects your inner state with perfect precision. Every situation, every relationship, every outcome is showing you something, not to punish, but to reveal, to teach, to awaken. Your reality is not random. It is a faithful echo of your consciousness. This is the sacred principle of reflection. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you carry doubt, you will find experiences that validate that doubt. If you nurture belief, life will rise to meet that belief. The universe has no preference, it simply reflects. Consider a woman named Amara who lived in a barren valley where nothing would grow. The earth was cracked, the wind dry, the sun relentless. While others cursed the land and abandoned their hopes, Amara did something different. Each morning, she walked the dust and spoke to the soil, not with frustration, but with reverence. She imagined wildflowers blooming. She saw vegetables ripe with color. She thanked the earth for its hidden abundance. Others laughed. But Amara continued. She watered the ground though it looked lifeless. She planted seeds though nothing had grown there in years. And she believed, not with desperate hope, but with calm certainty. Season by season, the land began to change. First a sprout, then a stem. Then blooms burst forth where none had ever been. Her field became a garden. Her garden became a symbol. And soon, others began to believe again too. Amara did not change the land first. She changed herself. The land responded. Your life works the same way. If you see chaos outside, look within. What part of you is uncentered? If relationships seem tense, ask, where am I not at peace with myself? If abundance feels elusive, inquire, where am I still holding scarcity in my thoughts? The world is not against you. It is speaking to you. It is your teacher, your partner, your mirror. To begin this sacred work of reflection, set aside time each day to observe, not your outer world, but your inner climate. Ask yourself, what emotion has governed me today? What thought have I repeated the most? What belief did I operate from? You may be surprised at the answers. Perhaps you find a belief that says, I'm not ready, or nothing works out for me, or I'll always struggle. These thoughts do not merely live in your mind, they shape your world. Like ink in water, they color everything. Once you see them, you can choose differently. Take one belief that no longer serves you, write it down. Then beneath it, write its opposite, one that uplifts, empowers, liberates. I'm not ready becomes, I was born ready for what is mine. I always fail becomes, every step I take moves me closer to success. I am alone becomes, I am deeply supported, seen, and loved. Speak the new belief daily, not as a chant, but as a declaration. Let your energy rise as you say it. Let it echo in your body until your reality must respond, because it will. Just as the mirror revealed Raza's mind, your life is revealing yours. There is no shame in what it shows, only an opportunity, a gift. To shift the reflection, you need only shift the light you shine. You don't need to fix every detail outside of you. You only need to heal what's within. When your thoughts align with truth, when your heart aligns with love, your reflection, your life, begins to shimmer with that same beauty. It is not always instant, but it is inevitable. Reality bends to inner transformation like iron to a magnet. You have the power to change everything, not by force, but by frequency. Not by reaction, but by reflection. If your outer world feels heavy, ask, what am I still carrying? If life feels dark, ask, where am I dimming my light? Then turn inward. Sit in silence. Close your eyes. And ask this sacred question, what within me is seeking to be seen, healed, and transformed? Let the answers come gently. Trust what arises. Then bring awareness to that place within. Not judgment, not resistance. Just loving awareness, the kind that changes everything. Like Amara's barren field, your inner soil may seem dry, but it is fertile with potential. Plant new thoughts. Water them with belief. Shine the light of consistent attention. And you will see, new life will begin to bloom. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. Chapter 7. Sacred Symbols and Ancient Secrets. In a temple carved directly from the living rock of a sacred mountain, where wind never dared to disturb the silence, an apprentice named Cain traced his fingers across ancient engravings worn into the walls. The markings pulsed faintly beneath his touch. Spirals, triangles, circles, stars, etched not for beauty, but for memory. He didn't yet understand them, not with his mind, but something in his soul stirred. Night after night, by the flickering flame of an oil lamp, Cain returned. The more he studied, the less he tried to decipher, and the more he began to feel. Then, on one quiet evening, as moonlight spilled through a crack in the ceiling like liquid silver, something shifted. The symbols seemed to breathe, to speak, not in words, but in knowing. The spiral revealed itself as the path of eternal evolution, always expanding, always returning. The triangle whispered of harmony between mind, body, and spirit. The circle radiated unity, completion, the truth that all is one. These were not decorations. They were keys. Throughout the ages, symbols have spoken in the language of the soul. Long before alphabets or spoken words, ancient ones encoded cosmic truths in shapes, numbers, and patterns. These symbols were not created, they were remembered, discovered in nature, carved into cave walls, passed down in silence, because symbols transcend the rational mind. They communicate directly with the subconscious, awakening parts of us we forgot were even sleeping. The spiral of a nautilus, the hexagon of a honeycomb, the branching of trees, the symmetry of snowflakes, the dance of planetary orbits. All of these reveal the sacred geometry of creation, a divine order that underlies the seeming chaos. When you begin to notice the recurring symbols in your life, you start to see that the universe is always in communication. Dreams, patterns, shapes that appear again and again. These are not coincidences. They are invitations. In a distant kingdom, there ruled a wise king named Talib. He was not led by scholars or generals, but by dreams. For in his sleep he would see visions, symbols rich with meaning. One night, he dreamt of a golden key floating above his palace. The next day, a stranger arrived, carrying with him a revelation that forever changed the land. Another dream showed a withered tree blossoming anew. Talib awoke with urgency and nourished his people's spirits before famine came. He did not dismiss these dreams. He did not rationalize. He listened. And the symbols guided him through seasons of peace, growth, and protection. You too are being spoken to, through signs meant only for you. You may see a bird appear at just the right moment, a number sequence repeating on clocks, receipts, pages, a symbol that keeps surfacing in art, in conversation, in thought. These are not random. They are breadcrumbs leading you back to yourself. To begin listening, choose a symbol that calls to you. It could be a tree, a star, a circle, a feather. Sit in silence. Close your eyes. See the symbol in your mind's eye. Let it live there, just beyond the edges of focus. Observe what feelings it evokes, what memories rise, what inner movement occurs. Do not force understanding. Let the symbol speak in its own way. Then, write. Not from your intellect, but from your intuition. Let the pen flow. Let images and insights appear. This process connects your conscious mind with your deeper, intuitive self. The symbol becomes a bridge, a sacred link between you and the intelligence of the cosmos. These symbols are archetypes, primal patterns embedded in the blueprint of reality. They show up in temples, in dreams, in nature, and in the human body itself. The triangle of thought, word, and deed, the spiral of your DNA, the lotus of awakening consciousness, the eye that sees beyond sight. They are not superstition, they are instruction. They remind you of the truths that cannot be taught in classrooms. the truths your soul already knows. When you begin to engage with these sacred symbols consciously, your perception changes. A tree is no longer just a tree. It is the bridge between earth and sky. A circle is not merely a shape. It is the womb of creation, the cycle of life, the eye of the divine. A labyrinth becomes your journey inward, reminding you that every path, no matter how winding, leads to center. These realizations are not mental. They are cellular, and they activate remembrance. You are not separate from these patterns. You are made of them. You are sacred geometry wrapped in skin. You are a breathing mandala of infinite meaning. To deepen this sacred relationship, create your own symbol journal. Every time a symbol stands out to you in your day, in nature, in thought, in media, record it, draw it, meditate on it. Write what it means to you. Over time, you'll begin to see a language forming, a private dialogue with the divine, a map unique to your soul's journey. And with that map, you will navigate not just the outer world, but the inner cosmos. Just like Cain, tracing the etched walls in the temple, you will find that meaning is all around you. Not in explanations, but in impressions. Not in doctrines, but in designs. The universe is speaking, always has been. You need only remember the language. Chapter 8. The Forgotten Practices of the Ancients. In a high mountain village cloaked in mist, where the peaks pierced the sky like the spires of sleeping gods, there lived an elder named Jen. Each morning, as the sun began to cast gold across the frost-kissed earth, Jen would rise and begin a sacred routine passed down through generations. Practices so simple, they had been nearly forgotten by the modern world. His neighbors often wondered why he walked barefoot before dawn, touching the earth as though greeting a friend. Why he paused to inhale 3 long, reverent breaths facing the rising sun. Why he whispered words of gratitude to the trees, to the sky, to the invisible forces that shaped all things. To them, these rituals were unnecessary, outdated. Superstitions from a time before clocks and machines. But Jen knew otherwise. He knew that these small acts were not empty motions. They were keys, ancient codes embedded in action. Each practice opened a door between the physical and the divine. And each door, once opened, allowed the sacred to flow into the ordinary. Among the children he taught was Maya, a curious girl with bright eyes and a heart full of questions. One morning, as the sky blushed with amber and lavender, Jen beckoned her forward. "Before our people forgot," he said, "every day began with a ritual of awakening, not for the gods, for the soul. We touch the earth to remember we are of it. We breathe deeply to awaken the spirit. We gave thanks, not because life was perfect, but because it was sacred." Maya began practicing with him, mimicking the gestures at first, then embodying them, and something began to shift. She felt more grounded, more attuned, more connected. The world seemed more alive. The breeze whispered differently. The sun felt more intimate. Her dreams grew vivid. The subtle voice within her grew louder. She was remembering. Rituals, you see, are not about complexity. They are about consciousness. The ancients understood something we've forgotten, that sacredness doesn't appear only in temples or ceremonies. It lives in rhythm, in repetition, in reverence. A ritual is simply an action done with presence and purpose, and when repeated, it builds energy. It carves a groove in your consciousness through which divine power can flow more easily, more naturally, more often. You don't need incense or robes or chants to perform a sacred act. You need only intention. A moment of silence before you eat, a deep breath before you speak, a word of thanks as you wake. A walk in nature, without headphones, just listening. These are portals, quiet invitations to the universe to join you in the moment. And when the universe is invited, miracles become normal. In a monastery far from Maya's village lived a seeker named Rumi, not the poet, but a young man who bore the same name and the same longing. He read scroll after scroll. He memorized texts. He performed all the rituals, perfectly, outwardly. But still, his heart felt untouched. One day, in despair, he stopped everything. He sat under the rising sun, eyes closed, and whispered a single sentence his teacher once gave him. "I am one with all that is." At first, it felt like nothing, but he kept repeating it, morning after morning. "I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. I am." And slowly, something began to happen, not outside, but within. He felt stillness take root in him like a seed. He felt presence rise like a tide, and one morning he felt no separation between the breath in his chest and the wind in the trees, between the pulse in his veins and the hum of the earth. The words had carved a doorway, and through it he walked into union. That is the power of simple, sacred practice. The modern world moves fast, praises efficiency, and worships productivity, but your soul does not move at the speed of machines. It moves at the speed of seasons, of tides, of moonlight drifting over water, and it remembers through repetition. To anchor the sacred in your life, choose one simple practice, something that requires no tools, only presence. Perhaps it's placing your feet on the ground each morning and saying, "Thank you." Perhaps it's drinking water slowly, as if it were medicine. Perhaps it's a whispered mantra before sleep. Whatever you choose, let it become your anchor. Perform it not as obligation, but as devotion. Make it as natural as breathing. Let it remind you, in the chaos of days and demands, that you are not just surviving, you are aligning. You are participating in something holy, something eternal. Over time, this practice becomes more than a habit. It becomes a vessel, a space where the sacred enters the mundane. And in that space, you remember that you are not separate from the divine. You are a living ritual, a sacred flame, a temple that moves and breathes and laughs and weeps. Each of your actions, when done with intention, becomes a prayer. The forgotten practices are not lost. They are waiting to be remembered, to be revived. Not in temples made of stone, but in the sanctuary of your daily life. Begin now. Choose one sacred act. Do it today. Do it again tomorrow. Let it grow roots. Let it open you, and let it be the quiet revolution that changes everything. Chapter 9. Releasing the Chains of Limitation. Within the cold stone walls of a forgotten fortress, where time seemed frozen and light barely entered, a prisoner named Cairo sat quietly in his cell. Days blurred into nights. Seasons passed unnoticed. On the walls around him were carvings, symbols left behind by those who had come before. Some were prayers, others were pictures. All were remnants of those who, like him, had once believed they were trapped. Each morning, Cairo traced these markings with his fingers, trying to decode their meaning, hoping they held some secret to escape. But none gave him the answer. Not until one night, as the moonlight found its way through the smallest crack in the ceiling, casting a soft beam across the floor, did Cairo notice something strange. He looked at the tattered hem of his robe, worn, dusty, and familiar. But there, hidden within the folds, sewn tightly into the seam, was a small, rusted key. It had been there all along. All those years he'd searched for freedom, all the nights he had cried out to the stars. The key had never been outside of him. It had always been with him. And so it is with you. The limitations you feel, the walls you see, the boundaries you believe exist, they are illusions cast by your own conditioned mind. They are stories told over time, reinforced by fear and clothed in the appearance of truth. But they are not real. They are shadows, and every shadow dissolves when met with light. The most binding prison is not made of bars, it is made of beliefs. Beliefs like, I'm not enough, I don't have what it takes, this is just who I am, it's too late for me, I will always struggle. These are the silent shackles, the invisible walls. And yet, within you is the key, the power to unlock yourself from them at any moment. In another land, far from the fortress, lived a magnificent bird in a golden cage. It had been born there, raised there, fed and praised within its shining prison. The door had never been locked, but the bird never left. It believed the bars were solid, that the world outside was dangerous, that its wings, though beautiful, were not strong enough. Until one day, a gust of wind blew the door wide open, and the bird hesitated. It stepped forward, trembled, then lifted into the sky. And in that instant, it remembered what had been forgotten, that it was never meant to be confined, that it was always meant to fly. Like this bird, you may be living inside a cage built not by circumstance but by assumption, an invisible construction held together by nothing more than old thoughts you've mistaken for truth. But assumptions can be questioned, and thoughts can be changed. Take a moment now to identify one belief that has held you back, one that repeats like a background hum in your life. Perhaps it's about your worth, or your ability, or your future. Write it down. Don't judge it, just see it. Then ask yourself, is this belief helping me grow or holding me down? Now create its opposite, a new truth, one that uplifts, empowers, frees. Transform. I am always stuck into I move forward with clarity and ease. I'm not ready into I am prepared for what's meant for me. I'm broken into I am whole and always healing. Speak this new truth aloud, not just once, but daily, especially in the moments when the old belief returns. Declare the new with power, with conviction. Let it vibrate in your chest. Let it live in your breath, because your subconscious listens, and the moment you choose a new truth consistently, the old one begins to lose its grip. You are the storyteller, and your life responds to the stories you tell. But know this, changing a belief is not always easy. The prison may feel comfortable, familiar. It may even be praised by others, but comfort is not the same as freedom. To be free is to reclaim your authorship. To say, I will no longer live by default. I will choose what I believe, and in choosing, I will rise. Begin a sacred ritual of release. Each evening, sit in stillness. Place your hands over your heart. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Imagine the limiting belief as a fog within you. With every exhale, release it. Let it rise. Dissolve. Vanish. Now breathe in your new truth. Let it fill the space left behind. Let it root deep into your being. Let it become your anchor. Then, journal your transformation. Write down the changes you begin to notice, the small shifts, the unexpected blessings, the courage that starts to awaken. Because something happens when you declare your freedom, the universe responds. Opportunities arise, synchronicities unfold, people appear, circumstances shift. Not because the world has changed, but because your inner world did. And the outer always follows the inner. So if you've felt stuck, trapped, unworthy, incapable, remember this. The key is not out there. It's in your pocket. It's in your thoughts. It's in your willingness to question everything that once seemed permanent. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are a soul shedding illusions. And every time you release a limiting belief, you take flight. Like Cairo, stepping beyond the cell. Like the birds soaring into the endless blue. Like the soul remembering that it was always free. Chapter 10. Awakening to Infinite Awareness. High in the sacred stillness of the Himalayas, where the air was thin and the veil between worlds seemed paper-thin, there lived an elder sage named Jen. Though his physical eyes remained clear, he chose to walk the monastery grounds blindfolded. Visitors questioned him often, perplexed by this choice. "Why deny yourself vision when you can see so well?" they asked. Jen would only smile, his movements precise, his balance unwavering, his steps as sure as those of a dancer guided by rhythm unseen. What they didn't realize was that Jen had discovered a deeper sight, one not bound by physical eyes, but born from inner awareness. You see, true vision begins not with what you look at, but with what you perceive. We are taught from childhood to look outward for answers, to measure reality by appearances, to trust only what we can see. But there is a greater sight available to you, one that sees beyond surface, beyond form, beyond illusion. A vision that recognizes the dance behind the dancers, the pattern behind the chaos, the whisper behind the noise. This sight is called awareness. And when awakened, it reveals that nothing in your life is random. Every coincidence, every moment of synchronicity, every repeating symbol, number, or conversation, these are not accidents. They are messages from the deeper intelligence that flows through all things. A map, a nudge, a signal guiding you back to your path. Awareness is the tuning fork of your soul. It allows you to feel your way through life, to navigate by vibration, to recognize the signs that are always present but rarely seen. Because awareness doesn't just come from observation. It comes from silence, from presence, from tuning inward until you feel the hum of truth within your chest. There was once a sailor named Jin who sailed treacherous waters known to swallow ships whole. One voyage, dark clouds rolled in, swallowing the stars and blanketing the sea in pitch black. Without constellations to guide him, Jin closed his eyes and did something strange. He felt. He quieted his thoughts and listened, not with his ears, but with his being. He attuned to the pull in his heart, the rhythm in his breath, the subtle knowing within. And following that quiet inner compass, he sailed his crew safely to harbor. His instruments had failed, his eyes had been blind, but his awareness led him true. Jin had discovered what sages and seekers have known for millennia, that infinite awareness does not come from data or logic, it comes from connection. The universe is always speaking to you, through intuition, through sudden inspiration, through dreams, through the mysterious way. Certain paths open while others close. When your awareness is attuned, you realize these are not interruptions, they are invitations. The problem is, most people are too distracted to notice. Lost in thought, consumed by speed, glued to noise. But stillness is the gateway. You must slow down to hear the whisper. You must become empty to be filled. Begin now. Create space each day to practice the art of inner listening. Find a quiet place. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Let your body settle, like dust falling to still ground. Then ask, what truth is trying to reveal itself to me? Do not force an answer. Let it arise. Let it come from the silence, not the mind. This is not meditation in the traditional sense. This is communion. It is re-entering the conversation with life that was never meant to end. Start a journal of synchronicities. Write down every strange occurrence, every repeated symbol, every unexpected sign. Over time, you will see a thread, a design, a dialogue between your soul and the source. Pay attention to feelings that don't make sense, the pull toward a book, the urge to call someone, the resistance you feel before a decision. These are not random emotions. They are awareness speaking in its native tongue, sensation. In this practice, you develop the most vital skill on the path of awakening, discernment. Discernment is not judgment. It is the ability to feel the truth beneath the words, to hear the song beneath the noise, to sense which direction holds alignment and which one holds delay. When you cultivate awareness, life no longer surprises you. It confirms you. You begin to notice the alignment between your inner world and your outer experiences. You stop fighting what is and begin flowing with what wants to be. You release the need to control and begin to trust the intelligence that orchestrates stars, tides, and seasons. The more aware you become, the more supported you feel. Because you're no longer walking through life blindfolded, you're walking with sacred sight. Just like Jen, who navigated treacherous mountain paths with ease, he wasn't avoiding the world, he was seeing it from within. This is your invitation now, to step beyond the limits of the five senses and remember your sixth, the sense of deep, conscious awareness. With this awareness, you no longer fear uncertainty. You understand that the unknown is not your enemy, it's your teacher. You realize that nothing has ever truly been out of order. Every detour was part of the design. Every closed door was a redirection, not a rejection. And you begin to walk through life not with answers, but with presence. Not with maps, but with alignment. Not with the need to see every step ahead, but with the certainty that the next one will appear exactly when it's meant to. You begin to trust. You begin to hear. You begin to see. And in that sacred seeing, you remember. The light you seek was never somewhere out there. It was always glowing within you, waiting for your eyes to close, so your spirit could open. Chapter 11. Mental Alchemy, Transmuting Thought into Gold. Beneath the ruins of an ancient city, its towers now buried under the slow drift of centuries, there was once a hidden chamber. It was dimly lit by firelight, filled with the scent of oils and the faint crackle of bubbling elixirs. Inside this sanctuary, an alchemist named Thaddeus labored for decades. Surrounded by scrolls, symbols, and sacred metals, he chased what many believed to be a myth, the Philosopher's Stone, the legendary key to transforming base metals into gold. Day after day, he experimented. Week after week, he refined. Month after month, he failed, and yet he continued. Then one night, as fatigue overwhelmed him and his latest attempt fizzled into silence, he slumped before the fire, eyes closed, breath shallow. In that rare moment of surrender, when his seeking ceased, something unexpected happened. A realization bloomed, not in his lab, but in his mind. What he had been trying to transform was never the metal. It was himself. The real lead was not in the crucible, it was in his thoughts. The real gold was not material wealth, it was awakened consciousness. He saw that every fear, every doubt, every limitation was the raw material of transformation, and he held the fire within to transmute it all. This is the sacred art of mental alchemy. It is the ability to take the dense, heavy thoughts of despair and shift them into clarity, to take failure and refine it into wisdom, to take pain and purify it into purpose. You are an alchemist. Your thoughts are your metals. Your beliefs are your tools. Your awareness is the sacred flame. With them, you hold the power to reshape your entire reality, one thought at a time. Just as gold is not created but revealed through process, the higher version of you already exists. It is simply covered by layers of conditioned thinking, stories that say you are small, separate, limited. Mental alchemy is not denial. It is not pretending that pain does not exist. It is transmutation. The conscious choice to find the light inside the shadow, to find meaning inside chaos, to find yourself where you were once lost. In a distant city lived a young artist named Maya. Her work was bold, strange, different, and for that, it was rejected, again and again. She heard the word no, so often it began to echo in her heart like a permanent drumbeat. Each rejection felt like a wound, each critique a weight, until one day, as she looked at the pile of canvases no one wanted, she saw something new. They told a story of evolution, of persistence, of discovery. And instead of discarding them, she wove them together into a single, massive mosaic, a tapestry of every failure, each brushstroke a testimony to growth. When it was done, it was unlike anything the world had ever seen. The piece that came from her pain became the very masterpiece that changed her life. This is what mental alchemy looks like in motion. You hold the power to transmute, to take your worst moments and find the pearl inside them, to take your shame and turn it into wisdom for others, to take your fear and refine it into courage. The process begins with awareness. Start noticing your recurring thoughts, the ones that cycle like uninvited guests. Write them down, examine them, ask, where did this come from? Is it even true? Then choose your fire. Fire, in the alchemist's world, is transformation through focus. Your focus is sacred. What you repeatedly give attention to, you strengthen. So take the thought and hold it in your awareness, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Now ask, what truth wants to emerge from this thought? For example, I always fail. Hold it in the fire of presence. Watch it melt. Now ask, what else is true? Every failure brought me closer to clarity. I learn, I adapt, I rise. My journey is unfolding in divine timing. Feel the weight lift. That's the transmutation beginning. This is not just mental exercise, it is spiritual chemistry. It is the practice of awakening, of reprogramming your subconscious, not with fantasy, but with empowered truth. It is the discipline of choosing again, and again, and again. Just as Thaddeus sat before the fire, so must you return each day to the altar of your thoughts, not to fight them, not to escape them, but to transform them. You may begin to notice something strange. The world around you starts to shift, not because the world changed, but because your lens did. The people you attract feel different, opportunities unfold, synchronicities appear, and most of all, your own reflection softens, strengthens, glows. This is the gold. Not what you earn, not what you gather, but who you become. Create a practice of mental alchemy each morning. Before the day rushes in, sit quietly with your mind. Ask, what thought am I carrying today that no longer serves me? Then write it down. Then write its alchemized form. Then speak it, not passively, but with fire in your voice. Make it a ritual. Make it a declaration. Make it your philosopher's stone. Because the truth is, you don't need to find gold. You are the gold. And every thought you transmute brings more of that brilliance to the surface. You are not at war with your mind. You are the master of it. You are the alchemist. And today, the lead becomes light. Chapter 12. Tuning into the infinite mind. High in the windswept ridges of a sacred range, where clouds drifted like ancient prayers and the rocks whispered secrets in silence, there walked a shepherd named Amara. She moved with grace, guiding her flock across treacherous paths, her footsteps familiar, her hands wise. She had always relied on her knowledge of the terrain, its slopes, its ridges, its rhythms etched into her bones. But one evening, as a storm swept down from the peaks with fury and speed, Amara found herself disoriented. The wind howled, thunder cracked like a god's drum, the trail vanished beneath her. Fear crept in, curling tight around her chest. With no path visible, no direction certain, she remembered something her grandmother once said in the quiet of dusk. "When the world grows loud, be still, for the voice you seek speaks only in silence." And so, Amara knelt, not in surrender, but in sacred stillness. She quieted her breath. She let go of the need to know, and there, beneath the roar of wind, she felt it, a whisper, a current, a knowing, not of the mind, but of the spirit. A direction arose not from logic, but from resonance. And she followed. Through darkness and rain, with no map, only trust, she walked. And by dawn, the sky had cleared, and the path reappeared. She and her flock were safe. She had tuned into the infinite mind. You have access to this same mind. It is not intellect, it is not memory, it is the field of pure intelligence that underlies all of creation. The space where stars are born, where intuition lives, where truth is not learned, but remembered. Call it the divine mind, call it the quantum field, call it God. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it speaks to you. Always. But only when you're quiet enough to hear it. We are taught to seek knowledge outside ourselves, to Google, to analyze, to reason. And while these tools are useful, they are not ultimate. They are surface. Beneath that surface is a vast ocean, an intelligence not found in books or words, but in direct experience. It is the knowing that arises when you stop trying to figure things out and instead open to receive. It is the inspiration that drops in like lightning, the clarity that arrives uninvited, the certainty that needs no proof. And it is always available. In the heart of a bustling city lived a musician named Thomas. Every night he sat with his instruments, trying to create. He studied scales, he copied techniques, but his music felt hollow, forced, lifeless. One evening, frustrated, he set everything down and simply listened. Not to melodies, but to the world. The hum of footsteps, the rustle of wind through trees, the rhythm of the city breathing. And in that listening, something opened. He stopped creating and started allowing. He became a vessel, and the music began to flow, not from his hands, but through them. His songs changed. People wept. Hearts healed. He had tapped into the infinite mind. You too are a vessel, but a vessel must be empty to be filled. And so the first step is always silence. Find a sacred space each day, even for 10 minutes. No agenda, no affirmations, no requests. Just stillness. Sit with a question, not to solve it, but to surrender it. And listen. Let the noise of the surface mind fade. Let the layers of thought dissolve. Drop beneath the chatter, beneath the identity, beneath the fear. What remains is presence. And in that presence lives every answer you'll ever need. This is the space where Einstein saw equations before he could write them, where mystics received visions in caves, where poets caught fragments of eternity in lines of verse, where inventors dreamed blueprints in sleep, where mothers just knew what their child needed, where you have already been countless times, those moments of clarity, of peace, of perfect flow. It's not rare. It's your birthright. The only reason it feels distant is because the world rewards noise, but spirit responds to quiet. So let yourself practice. Not perfection, not understanding, just being. Create a sacred ritual of communion. Sit, breathe, ask. Let your question drift like a feather into the infinite. And then wait, not with tension, but with wonder. You may receive an answer, or a feeling, or an image, or just peace. Sometimes, peace is the answer. Write down what you receive, even if it makes no sense at first, especially then, because the infinite mind does not speak in straight lines. It speaks in symbols, in sensation, in flashes that bypass the intellect and go straight to the heart. And over time, a language is born, a dialogue between your soul and the source of all wisdom. You begin to walk differently, to speak more softly, to move with grace, not because you know, but because you're aligned. You stop chasing answers, and instead, you become a space where answers arrive. You become attuned, and attunement is everything. Like a Mara in the storm, like Thomas with his music, you learn that the universe is not silent. It's singing. You just had to quiet your own voice long enough to hear it. Chapter 13. The Sacred Geometry of Creation. In a city of polished stone and ancient breath, where light filtered through stained glass and the air carried the weight of silence, there lived a woman named Yara. She was an architect, revered, disciplined, exact. While others built structures for shelter or commerce, Yara built for the soul. She believed each structure whispered, that each line held a song, that every curve echoed some deeper truth. And so every morning before drawing plans or lifting tools, she walked through forest, through garden, through fields where no walls stood at all. She walked not to escape architecture, but to remember it. For in nature, Yara saw something deeper than form. She saw design. She saw the unfolding spiral of a fern mirroring galaxies. She saw the golden symmetry of sunflower seeds, the branching patterns of rivers and trees, the perfect balance in spiderwebs catching morning dew. And one morning, as dawn spilled over a glistening field, she watched a single leaf drift into still water, sending out ripples in sacred circles. In that quiet moment, it came to her. Not just a design, but a realization. Creation is geometry, and geometry is divine. This understanding is not new. It is ancient, whispered in the blueprints of pyramids, etched into the labyrinths of temples, carved into mandalas, woven into rugs by desert hands who never studied Euclid, yet somehow knew. Sacred geometry is not merely mathematics, it is the language of the cosmos, the architecture of spirit, the code that unites the micro and the macro, the cell and the star, the human and the infinite. To align with this geometry is to tune yourself to the order behind all seeming chaos. It is to remember that nothing in your life is random, that every experience, every encounter, every challenge follows a pattern, not always visible to the mind, but always felt by the soul. The spiral is the most ancient of these symbols. You see it in hurricanes and shells, galaxies, and your own DNA. It is the shape of evolution, of growth, of journeying inward and outward at once. Your life moves this way too, not in straight lines, but in spirals, returning to the same lessons with deeper understanding each time, revisiting the same emotions with more clarity. Circling, yes, but not in stagnation. In ascension. Then there is the circle. Wholeness, no beginning, no end. The womb, the eye, the sun, the infinite loop of breath and return. Your soul knows this shape well. It is the symbol of completion, of unity, of truth, untouched by time. When you sit in stillness, when you close your eyes and breathe deeply, what you feel wrapping around you is the circle of divine presence. always complete, always holding you. The triangle teaches of Trinity, of threefold power, in body, mind, spirit, in creation, preservation, transformation, in past, present, future, in thought, word, deed. It points upward, like a mountain, reminding you that elevation requires balance at the base. Pointing downward, it becomes the vessel, the feminine, the chalice that receives the unknown. Within every triangle lies direction and harmony. These patterns are not just symbols you observe, they live within you. Your body is built from geometry. Your heartbeat follows rhythmic proportion. Your face, your bones, your breath, all move in divine ratio. The golden ratio, known to sages and sculptors alike, governs the proportions of beauty and grace, not just in art, but in nature and in you. To become conscious of this sacred structure is to reclaim your harmony, because when your life feels off, it is often because you've stepped out of resonance. You're trying to force square logic into the spiral of growth. You're seeking linear answers in a circular reality. You're ignoring the triangle of alignment, thinking one thing, saying another, doing a third. Disharmony is not punishment, it's feedback. The universe does not demand perfection. It invites resonance. When Yara began designing her structures based on sacred geometry, placing doors in alignment with the golden mean, positioning walls in accordance with star paths, something happened. People who entered these spaces wept without knowing why. They stood in silence, hearts lifted, not because the spaces were grand, but because they felt remembered, as though something within them had finally returned home. You can create this same harmony in your life. You are a builder too, not of temples perhaps, but of moments, of choices, of relationships, of environments. Ask yourself, where is there imbalance in my life's geometry? Are my actions aligned with my beliefs? Is my inner world reflected in my outer surroundings? Is there symmetry between how I give and how I receive? Begin with your space, your room, your home. Clean with reverence. Place objects with intention. Let your environment reflect the order you seek inside. Even a small altar, just a candle and a symbol, can center your space and remind your spirit. Then, observe your days. Are your tasks arranged in a way that supports your energy? Do you give yourself sacred space to breathe, to spiral inward? Or are you stacking life like bricks without mortar? You do not need to redesign your world in a day. Just begin to notice the patterns. Watch the rhythms of your life as you would a piece of music. Is it rushed, discordant, or is there rest, pause, flow? The most beautiful compositions include silence between the notes. To deepen this sacred attunement, try a simple daily practice. Draw a spiral, slowly, from the center outward. Let it unfold naturally with your breath. As you do, reflect on your current season. What lesson are you returning to with deeper eyes? What wisdom are you circling back toward? Next, draw a triangle. At the base, write a thought you've been carrying. On one side, write the words you speak about it. On the other, the actions you've taken. Are they aligned? Or are they pulling in different directions? Finally, draw a circle. And within it, write what feels whole in your life, what feels complete, what you can now honor, release, or celebrate. This isn't art, it's alignment, a practice to return your mind to the order your soul already knows. You are not just a seeker of truth, you are a living expression of it. And when you begin to live in harmony with the sacred geometry of existence, something shifts. Your decisions become clearer, your movements more graceful, your path more fluid, because you are no longer pushing against the design. You are becoming it. Like Yara walking among trees, building with light and spiral and star, you will find yourself not needing to understand everything, because deep within, your soul already does. Chapter 14. Facing the Shadow Within. In the windswept highlands of an ancient realm, where fog cloaked the earth like a veil, and twilight lingered longer than it should, a knight named Roland set out on a quest spoken of only in hushed voices. The Cave of Echoes. Legends claimed that within it lay a powerful treasure, guarded not by beast or blade, but by something far more elusive, a shadow that mirrored the heart of whoever entered. Roland, brave and hardened by battle, scoffed at the tale. "No shadow can harm me," he muttered, as he climbed the path carved by countless feet before him. Yet when he stepped into the mouth of the cave, torch in hand, and the light began to flicker against damp walls, he felt something deeper than fear, a stirring, a recognition, as if the cave itself was waiting for him. The deeper he ventured, the louder the silence became, and then, at the end of the corridor, he saw it, a figure cloaked in darkness, tall and unmoving. Roland raised his sword. The figure did the same. Every breath he took, it mirrored. Every movement, it matched. And then he saw its face was his. Not as he appeared to others, but as he was beneath the armor, beneath the valor, beneath the story. The cave had not summoned a monster. It had summoned him. This, dear reader, is the shadow. Not an enemy, not a curse, but the parts of yourself you've hidden, denied, suppressed. The anger you were told to silence. The fear you were taught to ignore. The shame you were never allowed to express. The unloved, the unspoken, the unseen. And yet, it lives. It lives in your hesitation, your triggers, your self-sabotage. It lives in the patterns that repeat, in the opportunities you turn away from, in the relationships you destroy just before they deepen. The shadow is not evil. It is simply unknown. And what is unknown becomes terrifying until you shine a light on it. There once was a village built beside a valley of ruins. Long ago, an earthquake had reduced a thriving community to rubble, and the survivors had built their new homes at a distance, never daring to return. They told their children stories of spirits and curses that haunted the stones. But one child, curious beyond fear, ventured into the rubble and began to dig. What she found stunned the elders. Jewels, artifacts, seeds stored in clay jars, forgotten medicines and buried scrolls. Beneath the destruction lived treasure, and so it is with you. Your shadow holds the gifts you've buried, your intuition, your voice, your sensuality, your power. Your light is hidden in the dark. To face your shadow is not to fight it. It is to meet it with compassion. To listen to the parts of yourself that have been silenced for so long, to ask, what do you need? What do you want me to know? This work is not glamorous. It does not glitter. It does not perform. It is quiet, humbling, sometimes uncomfortable, but it is holy. To integrate your shadow is to become whole. Begin by noticing where your reactions are stronger than they should be. Jealousy, rage, envy, judgment. These are not flaws. They are signposts, invitations. They say, something here is not healed. Don't shame it. Sit with it. Write about it. When you feel triggered, ask yourself, what part of me feels unseen? What old wound is echoing? Then go deeper. Take one recurring pattern in your life, perhaps a cycle of scarcity or abandonment or self-doubt. Instead of asking, why does this keep happening to me? Ask, what part of me benefits from this pattern? What safety have I found in the familiar pain? The answers will surprise you. The shadow often protects us in distorted ways. A fear of success might actually protect you from attention. A pattern of being alone may protect you from vulnerability. A habit of self-judgment might shield you from disappointment. But you are not here to be shielded. You are here to be revealed, to become, to shine. And you cannot shine fully while hiding parts of yourself in the attic of your psyche. There is a difference between light that blinds and light that illuminates. True light comes not from denying your darkness, but from including it, transmuting it, loving it. The parts of you that you've deemed unworthy are the exact parts that contain your gold. Remember the story of the alchemist? The base material is the shadow. The gold is what remains once it is seen and honored. So create a sacred ritual of shadow work. Choose one belief you carry that brings you pain. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I always ruin things. I can't be trusted. I will never be loved as I am. Write it down. Then close your eyes and visualize the version of you who first formed this belief. A child, a teen, a young version of you curled up in a memory. Walk toward them, sit beside them, listen to their pain, then speak to them, not with logic, but with love. Tell them what they never heard, that they are worthy, that they are safe now, that the shame was never theirs to carry, and hold them inside your heart. Let them merge with you, not as a burden, but as a piece of your wholeness. When you do this, the chains begin to loosen, the repeating patterns begin to dissolve. You stop fearing your own reflection, and in that sacred return, power is restored. Because the one who walks with their shadow no longer needs to hide. They do not need to pretend, or perform, or seek external validation. They know who they are. They have seen their own face in the cave and loved it. Roland, the knight, did not slay the shadow. He embraced it, and in doing so, the treasure he found was not a jewel, but peace. This is your treasure too. Not perfection, not constant positivity, but peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing all of you is welcome. That nothing inside you is too much. That your darkness is not a flaw, but a door. And on the other side of that door is the freedom to be all that you are. Chapter 15. Your Life as a Sacred Masterpiece. In a mountaintop studio where clouds rested on window ledges and the sun rose slowly over oceans of mist, there lived a woman named Amara. She was no ordinary artist. Her canvas was not confined to linen. Her brush was not always dipped in paint. She wove with light. She shaped with silence. Each morning she lit a single candle, bowed her head, and whispered, "Let today become part of the masterpiece." Her hands moved slowly, deliberately, never rushed. She didn't force color onto the canvas. She invited it. She didn't fix her mistakes. She folded them into the design, allowing them to reshape her intention. She trusted the flow of what came because she knew life is not a series of perfect strokes. It is a sacred unfolding. And she, like you, was here to create, not with control, but with devotion. Your life is not an accident. It is not a mess of random events stitched together by chance. It is a living work of art. Every joy you've known, every sorrow that shaped you, every failure, success, moment of love, moment of grief, it's all part of the design. Every experience has placed a brushstroke. Every emotion, a hue. Every breath, a rhythm. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the masterpiece is in progress. What separates the artist from the critic is not skill, but trust. The artist trusts the process. They know that even if they can't see the final image, something beautiful is forming. The critic judges the image too early, dismisses the work mid-stroke, never allowing the full creation to bloom. So many of us live like critics of our own lives. We condemn the incomplete, we shame the shadow, we panic when the path isn't clear. But what if, instead, you became the artist? What if you paused each day and asked, what am I shaping today with my choices, my thoughts, my presence? What if you recognized that the rough textures in your past were not flaws, but contrast? That the wounds you carry are not stains, but depth? That the misturns were not delays, but brushstrokes pulling you toward unexpected harmony? The ancients knew this. They wove rugs with intentional imperfections. They carved sacred flaws into their temples, not because they lacked skill, but because they knew only the divine is perfect, and we are here to reflect the divine through the real, through texture, through evolution, through vulnerability. There once lived a potter named Kai in a quiet village at the edge of the world. He shaped clay into vessels so exquisite that pilgrims traveled for days just to witness his hands at work. But what they noticed most was not his mastery, it was his presence. Each movement was a meditation. Each touch held reverence. One day, a child asked, "Why do you take so long with each bowl?" Kai smiled and said, "Because I'm not just shaping clay, I'm shaping energy. When people drink from this bowl, they will taste not just water, but the care, the love, the stillness I poured into it." Your life is the same. Every moment you touch it with intention. Every word you speak, infuse it with presence. Every act you take, know it echoes beyond what the eye can see. This is how masterpieces are created, not in haste, but in heart. Now, look around your life. What threads are you weaving? What colors are you choosing? Are your thoughts aligned with beauty? Are your actions aligned with your values? Are your relationships reflecting your truth? If not, begin again, not in shame, but in awareness. The masterpiece is never ruined. It is always evolving. Even chaos becomes art in the hands of one who sees with love. To deepen this truth, create a sacred practice of reflection. Each evening, light a candle. Take out your journal and ask, what part of my masterpiece did I shape today? Write about the words you spoke that held weight, the moments you chose compassion over reaction, the mistakes you made, and how they might become texture instead of regret. Don't edit, don't analyze, just observe. Because reflection is how the artist learns to see more clearly. And with clearer vision, your creation becomes more intentional. Remember, this is not about perfection, it is about authenticity. Raw, real, holy. You are not here to create a life that looks good. You are here to create a life that feels sacred, that holds you, that expresses you, that mirrors your essence in every line, curve, and color. And when others witness your life, your way of loving, your courage, your truth, they will not say, "What a perfect person." They will say, "What a beautiful life." A life that healed, a life that grew, a life that inspired. A living masterpiece that reminded them they too could create. You are not separate from the canvas. You are not just the artist. You are the art. The hands that shape and the clay that bends. The eye that sees and the light that reflects. The silence and the sound. The question and the answer. You are the brushstroke of the universe, painting itself again and again through the medium of your being. So ask yourself now, with open heart, what do I want my life to say? What legacy do you wish to leave? What vibration do you wish to become? What masterpiece are you ready to live? Write it, speak it, breathe it. Then rise, not as someone unfinished, not as someone lost, but as someone who has remembered that your life is the temple. Your choices are the chisel. Your soul is the flame. And you, magnificent, infinite, ever becoming, are the sacred masterpiece in motion. Conclusion. The phoenix rises. In the sacred heart of an ancient grove, where time stood still between one heartbeat and the next, there dwelled a creature of celestial fire, a phoenix whose wings shimmered with the memory of stars and the silence of eternity. For 1,000 years, it soared across realms beyond thought, gathering fragments of cosmic wisdom, whispering truths into the winds of forgotten worlds. But even the eternal must transform. And so, as the destined moment arrived, the phoenix descended into its nest made of starlight and ash. It did not resist the flame. It welcomed it. It knew this ending was only the beginning wrapped in fire. With a final exhale, it surrendered to the sacred blaze, letting all that was burn into dust. Its body crumbled, its feathers turned to light, and from the ashes of all it had once been, a glow began to pulse. Not destruction, rebirth. And from that radiance, the phoenix rose, new, luminous, and eternal once more, its wings now woven from the wisdom of its journey. Dear soul, you have walked the same path. Through these teachings, you have wandered the temples of ancient knowing, faced the cave of your shadow, tuned to the silent song of infinite intelligence. You have remembered what was always within you, the spark, the truth, the power. You have died to illusion, and you have risen in truth. The 33rd-degree knowledge now flows through your being, not as information but as transformation, not as words but as living frequency. You now know. Thought is not passive. It is the architect of worlds. Emotion is not weakness. It is the magnet that calls reality to your feet. Belief is not suggestion. It is the command to which the universe responds. You now walk with the understanding that reality is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Each breath you take is a decree. Each word you speak is a spell. Each vision you hold is a blueprint pressed into the fabric of time. And you, beloved Creator, are the living bridge between idea and embodiment. You've been taught to look outside, to chase, to strive, to prove. But now you remember, the kingdom is within. The temple is within. The source is within. And it always was. You were never powerless. You were never waiting. You were only remembering. So now, as this sacred volume closes, understand that nothing ends here. This final page is the first step of the next chapter, the one you write with your life, the one you shape with your alignment, the one you craft with reverence. Carry these teachings as flame, not in your hands, but in your heart. Let them illuminate your path through uncertainty. Let them guide your voice when the world forgets its own power. Let them return you, again and again, to your divine center. For this is not the work of a single day. It is the sacred rhythm of a lifetime, the dance of death and rebirth, the unfolding spiral, the art of becoming. So now stand, radiant soul. Let the light of this knowledge rise within you like the phoenix from its ashes. Declare, I am the architect of my destiny. I am the master of energy. I am the living expression of sacred wisdom. And I choose now to shape my reality with purpose, love, and truth. Let every cell echo that truth. Let the universe respond. Let the masterpiece continue. The phoenix rises, and so do you. If this wisdom awakens something within you, share it. Let others remember too. And when you're ready for the next level of your journey, the next sacred book is waiting.